All right. Oh, ding dong.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining early. You're definitely punctual. My name is Jessica Landeros. I am one of the housing counselors at Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services. Nye Saley is also joining us here, who is another counselor. And then we have the folks from Guild. We have Susanna and Carla. And we will be getting started in a few minutes. And then I'll repeat this all over again. So thank you for being on time and being early.
Did Eric join? Eric Mills?
No, he have other engagement, so he's not going to be yet.
Oh, okay.
A Money Matters thing.
Yeah.
So, huh?
Are you on me?
Yeah, I am now.
Your camera's on?
No.
Hello, Juana. I think you're on. You're unmuted. So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries. I just don't want everybody hearing your combo over here.
Oh, sorry, dear. Let me put that on mute. My bad.
That's all right. If you don't mind sharing, we're okay.
I feel like there must be a way that I could like play some little elevator music in the background of these Zoom things, right? I just probably don't know how yet. It would help out. How's everyone doing tonight? Wednesday, midweek. How is everyone?
Sleepy.
Kind of warm out here in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Says it's 93 degrees here in Antioch.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we go from like mid 70s to bake.
I'm 83 in San Jose right now, and it feels like 90. So.
Mhm.
We have 5 more minutes. But I did want to let folks know who are here already that we will be recording and we will be sharing this live with Facebook. So just an FYI.
So now, Jessica, will you be monitoring the chats and questions as we move along?
Yes, so I will do my best to not lose any questions and mention any questions whenever there's space. I'll kind of follow your flow. So if there's a space for some questions, I'll go ahead and let you know. I just don't want to interrupt, but yeah, I will monitor on my end.
Yeah, I'll usually try and break for questions every now and then because I know that sometimes I just get on a roll, but just in case there are some coming in, we can always, at a pause, go over any questions in the chats.
Okay, sounds good. So we have 3 more minutes. There's more folks logging on.
Yes, you just announced it. Thank you.
So it doesn't mean that, T, but it does mean that it will be shared live on Facebook. So if I'm not mistaken, and those of you who know Facebook better than me, if it was shared live, I do believe you can rewatch. And I also believe that this will be on our YouTube. But I will definitely verify that. Thank you for asking though. So we have 2 minutes to get started. We'll hold off to see who else will be joining us. Thank you everyone for joining and being on time. Okay, folks, it's almost 6 o'clock, so if you can start getting your water, whatever notes you need, a pen, a paper to get started and get those questions going. If there's anything that you need to ask before then, please use the chat or the Q&A. Like I mentioned that I would repeat, this is being recorded. It's being live streamed on Facebook, and I do believe it will be on our YouTube account. So if you do not feel comfortable, don't share your camera, but you can still continue using the chat if you're comfortable in that way. And we will respect everyone's decisions, and we will definitely try to answer all your questions today and get as much knowledge going. So Susanna, I'll pass it over to you.
Well, fantastic. Well, welcome everyone. I know that it's late in the evening here, and so we will try and get through this as quickly as possible and clearly as possible. So one of the things that I have done over the years and is to focus on down payment assistance, first-time home buyers, low to moderate income borrowers who really need that extra to compete with others out in the market. And right now, that takes a bit. So what we're going to do is the PowerPoint in front of you is finding the money, uncovering the mystery of down payment assistance, because there is a bit to it. There's a lot of myths about what it is. Do you have to pay it back? Is it a grant? What constitutes a grant? What's a loan? What are the terms of the loan? And how do they all come together? So let's get started. So in today's agenda is what is a down payment assistance program, or a DPA, and what DPAs are available here in the Bay Area. Now, this PowerPoint I did about a year ago, and there are a couple of new ones out there, and we'll talk about those as well when we get to that slide. And then also, what is the difference between a down payment assistance program and a grant? Because there is a difference. And then also whether or not a lot of these have any kind of property types in their limitations. And then understanding the pros and cons of down payment assistance. And I have a couple of examples comparing the two state bond programs to kind of give you an idea of how things work well together or if they don't work well together. So we'll get started. Okay. So the first slide here goes over what is down payment assistance. Down payment assistance is a loan or a grant that helps you with the funds to purchase a home. The funds can cover down payment and or closing costs. So it can't go above and beyond and pay you money back to do this. It is strictly for all of the money that it takes to purchase a home. For example, if you have a sales price of $400,000 with 3% down, and you have $15,000 in closing costs, under conventional financing, you're required in that position to pay $27,000. Now, let's say you have a down payment assistance program that covers 25 of that $27,000. All you need is $2,000. It's a very low amount right now. Typically, most folks can get in with a little bit more, like $5,000, $6,000, or $7,000. So do keep in mind that there will be some money that you need to contribute to this transaction as a potential homeowner. We like to try and get as much financing as possible, but there will be some limitations. So this is what it is to help you with this transaction that you have entered into, in order so that you're not having to shell out a lot of money right up front. Okay. So in the Bay Area, there are a lot of down payment assistance programs that are actually available at this time. Right now, there are 6 on this list, and I know there are 2 that I can add to it. So there's AC Boost. AC Boost is the Alameda County Boost program. And you can only purchase in Alameda County on this. And depending on your income level, you either get $160,000 or you can get up to $210,000 on a loan. It is based on the income levels that you qualify in. So, and that would determine how much you would get on that. And it is also by lottery. So do keep in mind and do stay in front of them to get your lottery accepted for that. The other one that I do a lot of right now is one called Neighborhood Lift. It is $25,000 loan. It is based on an income level per county here in the Bay Area. And applications are accepted when funds are available. So always check their website. And typically they say every Thursdays are the best. I tell people every other day, go in, see if those monies are there. Right now, it's not as much of a feeding frenzy as it was when it first came out, maybe about a year and a half ago, where there were thousands and thousands of people clamoring for this money. Now, when you get in there, you might be in very good position to get the money. So do keep checking your website. CalHFA has both the FHA and conventional. They also do have VA and USDA, but it's not one that I typically recommend on those 2 because of various parameters. However, if you have an FHA approval and you'd like to see if CalHFA can add and help you with it, they do have 2 programs. They have My Home, which helps you with down payment or closing costs. And they also have ZIP, which is known as Zero Interest Program. That is a closing cost only program. And you can only get these 2 loans with CalHFA. So you can't mix and match with this one. Now you can add AC Boost or Neighborhood Lift, but there will be some restrictions. This can do conforming loan limits as well as high balance, so well up into the $900,000 range. So you can really borrow quite a bit of money with this particular loan. In order to get the My Home and the ZIP, you must be a first-time home buyer as well. Then there's also the Oakland MAP and their Cal Home funds. You have to purchase in Oakland to receive these. I've used these a lot in the past. Recently, they've been out of money over the past year and a half, or they've been very, very depleted. I've been in touch with Nikki Duisberg over at the city. She says she's hoping to have some funds, but there's no time of replenishment at this time. However, if you are interested in these funds, go to the community development website at the Oakland websites, and you can sign up for their alerts. It is based on an income level, and it is $75,000 towards down payment only on this one. And I can layer this one, say, for example, with CalHFA or Neighborhood Lift or Wish funds. So a lot of these things can mix and match, but not everything. Now, there's also one known as Wish. This is a matching program. So for every $1 you put in, they put in $4. So if you put in $5,500, which is the maximum that they will match up to, they're going to put in $22,000. You need to be under 80% of the area median income level for that county. It is for the low income. and they will count all of the people over 18 in that home in terms of that income level. Okay, so it is a slightly different look at your income. GSFA and that particular one called the Golden State Finance Authority does also have the umbrella financing of FHA versus conventional. So they'll do both. And you have to purchase a home in California, just like CalHFA. And there is assistance up to 7% in assistance. There's a lot of caveats to that credit score program, you know, and a couple of other items. And you can combine this with other loans or grants. So I can combine Golden State Finance Authority with Neighborhood Lift, Wish, or Oakland. The disadvantage of this particular program is it will only go to the low balance loan limit of 640, 700. No high balance at all. So it won't go up into that $900,000 range that CalHFA will. So there's a lot of different programs out here. There are two that have come out since this particular down payment assistance PowerPoint was I put together. One is the HAF grant, which is facilitated by Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services. And that is a grant. It is $10,000. And it is for disenfranchised groups of the communities. And you need to fit under the criteria for that. There is a website link that if you're interested in, we should be able to provide you by the end of the evening here. The other one is the RCF Black Wealth Initiative for $20,000, and that is a loan. And again, also facilitated by Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services. It can be used for additional down on FHA or just down payment and closing costs on a conventional loan. So a lot of different nuances with each and every one of these types of programs. Again, we'll get you the information on this as we get towards the end of this program here today. So there's a lot of information here right now. Were there any questions on the local programs that are out there?
Susanna, I do have one question in the chat about if you know when AC Boost will come back, because on their website it looks like it's still showing a 2021 end date.
They actually have been going through a round of funding right now. And they are preparing to submit out to the winners of this round of lottery in the next month, I believe. So definitely stay in touch and email the facilitator, let them know that the website may be a little outdated because they have been open. They have been open for funding. But again, it's lottery. So you have to get into their cycle for that lottery. Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions, anyone? I don't see any more questions. Okay.
Okay.
Let's see.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
For the HFA, is this one of the new programs that was released by the state this year?
HFA, the Housing Finance Authority. The HFA has been around for a long time, but are they talking about the grant, the HAF grant for 10,000, or are they talking about HFA? There are two different items.
They might be referring, she said yes. I think she's referring to the HAF closing costs grant.
Yeah, that actually was recent this year. I believe, what was it, 2 months ago?
Actually, Susanna, I think that started maybe in February.
Oh, was it February? Okay, so it started this year, and that is through Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then for the Richmond loans, do you have to be buying a house in Richmond in order to qualify?
No. So actually the two particular ones that are new, the HAF, I believe, is strictly Bay Area. And then the RCF Black Wealth is the state of California. We did get that one confirmed. So that's the state of California. And that is the Black Wealth Initiative. The HAF, I believe, is Alameda and Contra Costa County only. Can you confirm that?
That's correct, Susanna.
That is correct. That's what I thought. They're fairly new programs, so pardon if I'm double checking a few things. I do tend to do that anyway when I'm double checking for my pre-approvals. And that is for the disenfranchised sections of the community, LGBTQ, I believe Black, single economic stressed, like Section 8 or single parent. And there's a whole list of items, which I believe is on the website. And like I said, we'll get that out to you by the end of the evening, because I do have that at my fingertips.
I also put in the half closing costs link in our chat. So people should, yes. One more quick. Yeah, I'm trying to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
Someone is asking if you have any information on the new forgivable equity builder loan.
That is a new one. Yes, that is through Cal HFA, and you could only get it through Cal HFA. So let me go back one slide here. So the lower left-hand side one where it says Cal HFA, it is conventional only, and it is a 10% down equity builder forgivable loan. And what that means is you can, the 10% doesn't have to go all the way to down payment. It can cover part of the closing costs, but you must fit under 80% of the area median income in the county where you're purchasing. So you must be aware of that. I strongly recommend that if anybody is interested, the website there is not strictly just for borrowers going into the borrower part and lenders going into the lenders. You can go into the lender stuff and take a look. And in there, if you're interested in looking at some of the counties and what the income levels are, you know, you can click on their links for the location income or the low income links and see what it is for Alameda, Contra Costa, and they may even vary within the counties as well for target tracks. So definitely, you know, get into the website and check it out. You can see the rates, you can see the scenario builder that we use. But this is a brand new program. I have looked at some of the buyers that I work with for it. Unfortunately, one of the issues that I'm running up against is somebody who may be 80% of the area median income in Alameda and Contra Costa, and they go out looking in Modesto or San Joaquin counties. Now they're at 100% area median income, and that equity builder is not applicable to them. So just be really aware of it. It is very location centric, and you need to fit under that income level. And it is also, by the way, the qualifying income that is put on the lender's application. So if we decide not to use your overtime or your bonus, and that puts you down into that 80%, as long as you fit into their lending parameters, then we can use that program. I know it's kind of a little twist and turn to it, but it is something that we can kind of maneuver a little bit. Now, if you're a salaried person and your salary is above that 80%, we can't just cut down your income because we want you to qualify for that. We have to use your salary. So just be aware of it. Again, it's a 10% down, and it can be used for down and closing costs. And it's great because it is a forgivable loan, meaning that it will go away after so many years. Okay. Any more questions on that particular one?
Thank you, Susanna. Someone's asking if there's any program specifically for teachers.
The Cal HFA has one for teachers, and what that does is it expands the My Home a little bit bigger. So instead of being capped at $15,000, if you are purchasing, say, a $600,000 or $700,000 home, they will do the full 3% or 3.5% if it's FHA. Then GSFA, the one on the lower right hand of this slide, they have one called Income Select. So if you do work for a school district or part of STRS, you that's one of their criteria. You can get their down payment assistance, not as a loan, but as a total grant. It means money on the table, and we'll kind of go in the difference of what that is. There are the Teacher Next Door programs. There are some that are driven by HUD, but you must purchase a HUD-owned home. Then there is the Teacher Next Door in San Francisco. And if you're purchasing in San Francisco, you can utilize that particular program. So there are some nuances with teachers. There's just not a whole lot. I mean, specifically geared here and there. It's just spots. So best to talk to a loan agent who knows each individual types of loan and will it work or not. I hope that helps answer that question. I know it sounds kind of rambling, but any others?
Someone mentioned in the chat that AC Boost gives priority to teachers and first responders over regular applicants. Do you know if
That's absolutely true. So when you apply for the AC Boost lottery, you get points for various things. Points you get more for being a teacher or first responder. So you may have a higher preference in their lottery system. So very good point. All right, so I guess we'll move on to the next screen just so that we can kind of get a little more in depth here. So you've heard me already talk a little bit about what is a loan. Some of these are loans and some of these are grants. So what's the difference? Because I've heard a lot of people say, well, these are all the subsidies and I get to have all of this. It's free money. It's not always free. No such thing as a free lunch. So a loan must be repaid. There must be some form of repayment as part of getting those funds. For example, we'll take the My Home from CalHFA. So let's say you get your $15,000. There is a repayment on that. It is not free money. It is a 1% interest rate. So $150 in interest will be accrued each year. You must pay it off if you sell. If you transfer the rights of the property, say to another relative. If you refinance, so say you want to pull cash out to redo the kitchen, you got to pay all your down payment assistance off. Or 30 years, or your first loan is paid off. So it must be paid. It may have an interest rate, like CalHFA's My Home has an interest rate, but their zero interest program has no interest rate. So what you borrow on that particular one is what you owe back. It may have a forgiveness clause. So if you go back to the other slide here, and I'll do that real quick. Oh, too far back. You have the Wish and the Neighborhood Lift. They both have a forgiveness clause. Both of these will forgive 20% each year until the year 5, and they're gone. So you live in that house for 5 years, which, you know, if you've got kids, they grow up lickety split like that. They go from 5 to 20, you know, before your eyes. So that's an easy one to think about. So there's that type of a loan, and it is a loan that begins as a loan and then forgives. We do have to factor the amount of the loan into the total financing allowed at the time of the purchase. And this is also known as a combined loan to value. Okay, so you purchase a home at $100,000. I know it's not in the state of California, anything's that cheap, but we'll use that as a good example. We can go to 105% of that sales price on a lot of these programs. That means for that $100,000 home, we can finance $105,000 in various forms, your first loan and your down payment assistance. If it's a loan, we cannot go beyond that. Okay. So to pay for your down payment and part of your closing costs, you may have to bring in some. Now, they may also have FICO requirements and income level, and they may even have minimum borrower contribution requirements. So, for example, CalHFA and GSFA both have FICO requirements. You have to have a middle credit score above a certain amount. GSFA will go down to a 620 in some cases. CalHFA, if you're under the low income, you are at 620. Moderate income, you're at 680. So it's a little bit higher. Income levels. Almost all of these will have income levels of one form or another, whether it's 120% of the area median income, 100% of the area median income, 80% of the area median income. So if you went back to the last slide, there were a few, such here as 80% area median income for WISH. Okay. Now, they may even have borrower contribution requirements. The WISH requires that you put in $5,500, $5,500 in order to get their money. If you put in less, they give less. You put in more, they still only give you 22, but you've met that 5,500. AC Boost likes to see that you put in 3% of your own monies. There are some other requirements for someone who may be Section 8 versus a standard borrower, and what gift monies can do as well. Oakland wants you to see 3% of your own money into that transaction. If you're Section 8, that is a little bit lower. So just sort of keep those things in mind, that each and every one of these may have some requirements. And if we're going to put multiple ones together, the most conservative requirement is going to rule. Okay. Now, there are grants. We've talked about one of the grants already. That's the HALF grant for $10,000, right? For disenfranchised communities here in Contra Costa and Alameda County. This does not have to be repaid. This is money on the table. It's like somebody giving you money right there. You have $10,000 for the HALF grant if you qualify for it. Or if we're looking at something like the teacher who uses the Golden State Finance Authority, or if you're a public employee. I did a loan this past year for someone who worked for UC Berkeley. It was all a grant. It was all on the table money. He just has to pay back his first loan. Again, there may be FICO and income level requirements and minimum borrower contribution in order to receive these monies. So we must keep those all in mind. You may also have tax consequences, so do check with the tax accountant once you receive your loan papers so that you can say, okay, I need and understand what may happen after I close this loan. Because some of these may be gift as the way that they put this together. Others just say grant. It just really depends on how they phrase the money. Okay. Are there any questions on this so far? Again, it's a lot of information.
Yeah. So there's one question about the AC Boost,
Yes.
whether it's forgiven after some time.
AC Boost is what's known as an equity share, and no, it is not a forgivable loan. So if they lend to you 10% of the sales price, that would be a very big house, by the way. If they lend you 10% of the sales price and you go and you sell it with 30% of equity in there, they're going to want 10% of your equity share. That's what it's called. Now, with that caveat, if you have a loan amount of $500,000 and you've paid $300 off of that, they cannot touch that part of it. They can only touch what you have accrued in true equity. And they will go through all of that and how it all works. And they will deduct some fees from that. So you're not feeling like, oh, they're going to take away all of my money and I'm not going to be able to pay the realtor. I'm not going to be able to recuperate some fixes I did to the house, some upgrades and things of that form. So talk with the counselors over at AC Boost, Sarah Shimon, and I know that they've got a lot of other Paxelli. They're all wonderful folks over there at Hello Housing, and they will have all of that information. If you do go to their website, read through that documentation, but they will take part of your equity. So if they lend you 10%, they're going to take 10% of your net equity. If you get 30%, it's 30%, 40%, up to 50%, that's the maximum. They're going to take some equity in order to pay it back. And a lot of folks will actually refinance and pay that back during the time that you own the home. Because again, it is one of those where you will have to pay for it if you refinance your home. In other words, if you want to pull cash out to fix up your house or lower the rate or whatever you may do, you've got to pay that off. Okay. I know it's clear as mud, right?
Thanks for explaining, Susanna. At this
Yeah.
time, there's no more questions.
Okay, good. So the next thing I'm going to do is kind of go through examples of CalHFA versus GSFA, because these are the two main state programs that I use. I will say that right now, CalHFA still kind of wins out because it's one of the easier ones to do. GSFA is really good as well, but it does have the limitation of the loan amount. And in this California, nothing is cheap. Let's just say it right out. So examples of two state programs, CalHFA. Minimum FICO is 680 for 660 for low income, 680 for all others. So it's slightly higher. The debt to income ratio, meaning your debts plus your home cannot exceed 45% of your gross income that we're using to qualify you. Okay, so there's that limitation, and they will not go 45.0001. It's 45. They'll do 44.9999, but and 45.0000, but anything more than that, they will not do that. Okay, so that is a limitation. They do have the 2 loans to help, actually now 3, but the equity builder, they will not combine with the My Home and the ZIP. I'm just going to reiterate that again. My Home can be 3 to 3.5% up to $15,000 unless you're a teacher or work for a school district. 0 interest program, or the ZIP, for closing costs only, and they can help for up to 3% of your loan amount. So if your loan amount's only $300,000, but you're purchasing a $330,000 home, we're going to take $300,000, multiply that by 3 for a $9,000 loan to help you with closing costs. More CalHFA DAPs the more that you use in their CalHFA DAPs, the higher the interest rate is going to go. So think about this in terms of risk. The more you borrow and the less you put to the transaction, you're a slightly higher risk to the investor. And so they're going to step that rate up the more you need. I can tell you a lot of folks that I've been quoting right now, I've been looking at the 2% interest rate rather than the 3%. And again, there's no password to get into the lending side. So go at it, take a look. You can see what it looks like every day. Maximum first loan amount. Actually, this is old too, and I got to update this. This was at $822,375. It's now in the 900,000s. Rates are set by the agency. I don't get to set those. Those are set by the agency. So when you go into CalHFA and they tell you the rate is 5.5 today, that's what you're going to get quoted today. Okay. Additional DAPs may also be applied as long as we don't exceed that 105% of the combined loan to value. I can combine it with Wish. I can combine it with Lyft. I've combined it with the City of Oakland in the past. I have used the first loan with AC Boost, but AC Boost won't allow for the seconds. So there's a lot of things that you can do. So you just want to make sure that when you're talking to your loan agent, the right mix has been put together. Golden State Finance Authority. So I think there is one of the Golden State Finance Authority. The minimum is now actually 620, but I'll double check on that. It says 640. Things change. So FHA, no income level required. Conventional, however, must follow the income level that is set out by the agency. The combination of loans and grants for this can equal 7% in assistance. Debt to income ratio may exceed 45% in some cases. Note, however, if the DTI or debt to income exceeds 45%, it can affect the amount of assistance that you can receive. Okay, so they may pull back on that assistance the more you are figuring that you're going to have to put towards that payment. Okay, if it's higher on your income. The more borrowed, the higher the interest rate. We heard that already, right? Maximum first loan amount is now $647,200. Rates are set by the agency, and additional DPAs may be allowed. So those are some of the pros and cons of each of these. So you can see that we can kind of mix and match on some of these. Some of them we can't as easily. And depending on your financial profile, how is this all affecting how much each of those particular programs will lend to you? Okay. Any questions on that so far? Because I've got an example.
Yes, before we move forward, someone is asking, what is the impact of increased income after receiving an income qualifying loan?
So if you've been pre-approved, so there's several stages. If you've been pre-approved and you're still out looking, and now you have received additional monies in terms of income, that can affect what programs will approve you for when you are actually in contract. So be aware of that, and especially let your loan agent know so that they can say, oh, yes, you know what? In 2 weeks, you're not going to qualify for this program. We need to take it out. And how does this impact you? The other thing is, if you are in contract and you're about to close and you know that raise is going to be there, you're closing. Okay. Just close. The only way that would affect you is if they called you for a new pay stub and said, okay, well, we're on the WISH funds and we need a new pay stub, and lo and behold, your income is higher. That can be an issue. And if it's really critical that you have these monies, you really need to talk to your loan agent, keep them up to date as to what is happening in your life. So during the time that you were talking to your loan agent, you're kind of financially married to them. They need to know everything about what's happening in your life financially and how does it impact each and every program, if it impacts some of them. Okay. So some of them are much more dramatic than others. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Susanna. A few more questions.
Sure.
Someone said, with regards to grant, can you discuss combining and an example of public employment and member of the community of color? What will the grant look like?
Well, let's kind of take a look at this Cal HFA one here, and I can let you know. So in this particular example, I have a $500,000 sales price. I always use 15,000 for closing costs. It can be higher, it can be lower, but it's a nice round number. And we go for a loan amount of 485. During this presentation, when I first put it together, the rate was 3.625. I will tell you now that it is about 5.5%. Closing costs, 15,000. We've got your payment there. We have assistance of $15,000 on the My Home. If you're a teacher, that would still be $15,000. If we wanted to add the half grant, we could even lower that loan amount, that 485, or get rid of the ZIP funds. So it really, if you're looking at the half grant itself, those are strictly closing costs. So what it would do here is it would take your interest rate down, would lower the amount of money going towards the closing costs, but you have a lower payment. You may be able to qualify a little bit higher. And the funds needed from you may be about 4,000 instead of 450. Now, let's take a look at Golden State Finance Authority. How would that help you there if you're a teacher? 500,000 in sales price. Down payments 15, loan amount 485. As you can see, the rate tends to be a little bit higher on Golden State Finance Authority. We'll just throw out a rate today of 5.75. We've got closing costs of 15,000, and there's your payment. Now, this has assistance of $14,550. Oh, I can't talk tonight. In this case, if you're a teacher, that $14,550, that's all gone. That becomes a grant. That's not a loan. And then we can add in that $10,000 towards closing costs, and funds needed from the borrower at $15,000 now comes $5,000. I know it kind of, it's like you kind of need to scratch and point and move. to figure that, but does that kind of make a little more sense? It lowered the amount of money you needed to bring out of pocket, and the assistance from GSFA isn't a loan, it's a grant. Does that
That's
make sense?
wonderful. Yes, it does. Thank you.
Beautiful. So I always tell people with down payment assistance, you know, there's little tiles when you're a kid and have 9 little tiles and you move them around, they become a picture. Imagine down payment assistance and you're moving those tiles around, but one doesn't want to quite go where it should because it's going to pop out because there's other requirements, and you can put a different one in, it might fit better and have a better picture. So that's kind of, some of these are going to work really well together and others are not, depending on what is needed and how it gets all put together. But that's a good example for a teacher, I think, on that Golden State Platinum program. It just really, it reiterates to you that first of all, you got $14,000 in assistance, right? And it was grant money. And on top of it, you were even able to lower your cash out of pocket for a teacher. So, and then there's also for firefighters, and I think there's correctional folks for that one. There's called an income select under Golden State Finance Authority. And you can go in again on that one. It's open to public perusal. So what types of properties can be financed on DPAs? Now, I get this a lot because I know that the Bay Area is crazy expensive, right? You buy a tank of gas and you can get around the block and you got to buy another one, right? And it's, you know, $10 a shot, right? Crazy. A lot of these are geared to first-time home buyers, folks who are not in the business of being landlords. What do I mean by that? They really try to encourage single-family residents, condos, townhomes, so you need an HOA in there, usually a lower one. Manufactured homes, for most part, will have them as well. Exceptions to the rules, single families with an ADU, and it must be classified a single family residence, not a duplex. In the Bay Area, yes? Was there a question? So in the Bay Area.
There's a question, but we could talk on it afterwards.
Okay, we'll get through this slide and then you can interrupt me there. All right.
Okay.
All right. So a single family residence is a home, and then you've heard of in-law or granny units. That's what an ADU or an accessory dwelling unit is. A lot of places here in the Bay Area, Oakland, San Francisco, the outlining areas of San Francisco, San Leandro, Hayward, everywhere. You get them out where I am here in Contra Costa County, the accessory dwelling units, because we have a lot more mixed families coming together and living in one big home. This is one of the exceptions that Cal HFA will allow. That's an exception for one of these programs. Not too many will allow for them, so we need to be really aware of that. 2 to 4 units, the Golden State Financing FHA version only. Lift funds will allow for multiple units, 1 to 4 all the way. So if you have a 1, 2, 3, or 4 unit home. But then, you know, stuff like AC Boost, Oakland, Wish funds, they're not. They're going to be single family condo townhomes. And so they're going to have very strict requirements on that. So now you said you had a question or a couple questions?
Yes, there's 3 new questions in the chat. Someone was asking if you could clarify about which combines with AC Boost. I think they that was in regards to the GSFA in Cal HFA.
Right. So AC Boost, because it's equity share, really does not want to share their equity with anybody else. Okay, so think of it that way. They will allow for layered financing with Lyft and Wish. I think are the only 2 in terms of loans. Now, you have the half grant. If you qualify for the half grant, they'll allow for that. Okay, because it's a grant. They're not going to share in any equity. They're not going to share in any appreciation of the home. So they're really strict on that. Now, if I need a first loan program for a specific reason, and I've had to do this recently, just use the Cali Chaffee web first loan program, and I layered it with outside financing, none of their other stuff. I can do the first loan, but I can't use the equity builder. I cannot use the My Home, and I cannot use Zip with AC Boost. Okay. You can use their first loan program, but not their secondaries. The nice thing is that the rate's lower. So remember I talked about how they layer their rates because of the amount of assistance they're giving? Well, because they're not giving all of that assistance, you get the lower rate and you can layer with AC Boost. That's where I came up on a specific loan recently where it became an advantage, was to use that program so that I got that rate advantage for the borrower. Does that make sense?
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Were there any other questions on that?
Yeah, there's a few. Someone is asking what the best way is to find a loan agent.
Oh, best ways. First, you talk to Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services or your housing counselor, wherever you may be getting your homebuyer education, and talk to them about what you need, what kind of programs you're thinking of, and who could they recommend. You know, I work with Richmond. I work with CHDC, SFHDC, Operation Hope, Unity Council, NIDD, you know, you name it. If there's an abbreviation for a nonprofit, I work with them. So do a lot of other loan agents out there. But definitely talk to them, set up a time to talk to someone so that they can understand what your situation is and give you some good recommendations. And then do an application with that loan agent as well. It's very important that we look at everything, because just saying, well, I want these assistance programs and here's my income and here's my FICO doesn't really help us. We really need to see everything and put it together, because we want to make sure there's no bumps. We want to make sure that you qualify for this and that something didn't show up that didn't let you qualify for it for some reason. So just sort of keep that in mind. You really want to talk to your loan agent, make sure, are they listening to you? Are they explaining something clearly? Because if you're asking for AC Boost in Oakland, do they work well together? No, they don't. Why? Because AC Boost really doesn't like to play with others very well. They like Lyft and they like Wish, and they'll take any first loan program, but they do not want to share that equity with anybody else. Now, if you want Lyft, Wish, San Francisco BMR, there are a lot of things that we could do there too. So you got to make sure that when you're looking for these programs that you don't want to just shove them all into a ball here and say, I want all of them, because they won't all work. They won't all work. So you have to make sure you understand why one won't work with another, or why one will.
Good point, Susanna. I love how you're explaining everything.
Thank you.
Someone is saying, if they have a conditionally approved loan but want to qualify for a DPA program, do I need to start over with the pre-approval process?
Talk to the loan agent that you're currently with. Do they know the program? Find out if they can do it. Not all lenders do. So do make sure that they are involved in these programs, and also make sure if that loan agent is on the list or needs to be on the list for the programs as well. Start there so that you're not having to recreate the wheel. Okay. I'm not one to have everybody jump around just because you want a smorgasbord of stuff. You want to make sure that you have a good agent. If this is a good agent that has been looking at your information, and now you want Lyft, for example, to help lift up the amount of money that you have to bring in, talk to them and say, hey, I really want to find out, are you approved for Lyft? Can you add this to my loan? What would it take? That's how I got started. Was a lot of the buyers that I talked to said, hey, I heard about this program. Do you know about it? I said, I don't. Hold on a second. Click. What do you know about this program? I've been told about it. You know, here it is. This is what I need to do. Okay, borrower, this is what we got to do. You know, so that's how they start. And that's how people get into this end of the financing, is we hear from you. And then we start feeling out and we start calling people, hey, you need this, you need that, this is what we've got, and networking. But definitely start with the loan agent there. If they don't know, go back to your housing counselor and say, can you recommend someone who knows this program? Okay.
Thank you, Susanna. Another question is, what are the qualifications for the forgivable equity builder loan?
Again, it's 80% of the area median income, and that is very location central. You do need to qualify on a conventional loan. So, if you've had any bumps in your recent past on your credit, say, for example, you're still 2 years out of a bankruptcy, it's probably not going to get you there because it's conventional only. And you can go into the Cali Tepe website, take a look at the income level. I don't say, oh, it's around this area, because you may qualify in Alameda County, whereas Solano County, you may not for this particular program. So you really do want to look, where am I thinking of buying? I'm thinking of buying in Contra Costa County. Okay, let's pick a city there. Oakley, look it up, see what that income level is. And remember, it's the qualifying income on this particular one. It's not household income. So if you can qualify on your own, but if your husband comes on or your spouse comes on and it's over that income, just go by yourself. It's conventional. And we can get you that equity builder. But you do want to watch that particular website. It's the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac lookup tool for property income. And it will tell you what the area median income is for that area. And then divide that by 12. And is that what I make? Okay, I'm under it. Good. Let's go. Let's see. Usually, though, your loan agent will check for that too. I usually find a lot more assistance of other stuff as well to layer with it. But those are the main criteria for the equity builder from Cali Tepe. Now, they do have their FICO requirement for low income of 660. Debt to income is 45. So be careful on those things. Okay. Shall we move on?
The last question in the chat is asking about AC Boost and whether it works with Contra Costa County.
No, AC Boost is Alameda County only. It was an initiative that was voted in, a bond initiative, voted, I want to say almost a decade now. And it was strictly used for housing. And they've done some rental assistance. This is their homeownership assistance. They've done some development assistance, but it is specific to Alameda County, Hayward, San Leandro, Berkeley, Oakland, Alameda, anywhere within that Newark, that whole corridor of Alameda County, Livermore, all sort of funny how Livermore and Dublin and Pleasanton are all Alameda County. So it's strictly those areas. If you look out in Contra Costa County, we do want to look at other programs. AC Boost does not come out here. Okay.
That's all for questions now, Susanna. Thank you.
Fantastic. All right. So there's always pros and cons, right? You got to give a little to get a little, right? I don't know if anybody's heard that wonderful saying, there's no such thing as a free lunch. Well, there are some pros to down payment assistance. It helps you finance a home with little to no down payment, or even some assistance in closing costs too. So you get in with a little bit of money and you have that extra to help you move, paint, take care of a plumbing issue or whatever it is that happens. And they are all required to kind of keep you in an affordable payment range. Remember that cap on that debt to income for Cali Tepe at 45%. It's designed so that you're not stretching yourself beyond your capable limits. Some loans have forgivable terms. We've heard a few of those. Lift, Wish, you can't beat that. Some programs do have grants that go with it, or they're grants themselves, like the GSFA if you're a teacher or you work as a firefighter, the Income Select, or you have the half grant if you're under the certain communities in the area. Then again, there are the cons. So higher interest rate, what does that mean? Well, it means we gotta bring that sales price down a little bit to meet that payment part, right? Loans must be paid back. We talked about that. My Home has to be paid back. Zip has to be paid back. AC Boost has to be paid back. Oakland must be paid back. So any of these that have terms for payback, really, really understand them. Okay. Some of these have higher FICO scores or middle credit scores that you kind of need in order to qualify for these loans. Strict debt to income ratios. You purchase in San Francisco with their DOUBT program, you're looking at 43, 45%. AC Boost has one. 43% of your new payment plus all your debts cannot exceed 45% of your income unless you are located close to a transit hub. And there are some requirements on that, and I'm going to defer that to AC Boost and Hello Housing. They do have very specific requirements on that, and they can go over all of that with you. May require verification of all household income. City of Oakland, Wish are like that. They want to see all income for anybody over 18 if they have income. There are some exceptions to the rules, but each and every city is a little bit different. So Wish is going to look at everybody in the household, even if they're not going on the loan, to see if you fit that income requirement of 80% of the area median income. So just kind of keep those in mind. There's some pros, there's some cons, and they're there for reasons to keep a very even-keeled means of lending their programs for their particular criteria. Any questions at this point? Is everybody totally confused? You're already stomach's growling, haven't had that extra cup of coffee yet?
Can I ask a question, Susanna?
Sure.
Can anyone apply for AC Boost if they income eligible as long as they plan to buy a home in Alameda County, even though they are not living in Alameda County right now?
I believe that they have a live work requirement. So you either need to live or work in Alameda County. And remember, Alameda County is pretty big and they do employ a lot of people. So if you're not currently living there, you definitely should be working there. I believe that that is an absolute must for AC Boost. They're trying to encourage people to, you know, live where they work or work where they live.
Thank you.
You got it.
Someone asked about how they could be sent information for Contra Costa County.
For lending programs or for what? Question mark.
I believe they are referring to information on she said lending programs.
They can reach out to me, and there's my contact information. And I know that Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services will be getting this presentation out to everyone. And I know that anybody over at Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services has my contact information. I'd be happy to give you an idea of what's out this way. It's not as big as AC Boost. And there are a few I've heard are in the horizon, but are not ready for launch yet. So just be aware of that. There is a small one in Concord. There's one in Walnut Creek, but both of these are very specific, and it really requires certain types of purchases on both of them. And I can go over that with you if you want, or if you have a loan agent and would like to know more about them, or tell your loan agent about them as well. Okay.
Thanks, Susanna. There's no more questions now, but I'll give folks some time to process all the information we gave them.
It's a lot. It really is a lot. And like I said, it's like one of those little tile puzzles. You move them around and like one pops out because it didn't like something, and then you got to put a different one in that place. Or, you know, that picture that you put together in that, if it works, it's great. So think about what your payment is, what you're thinking about money out of pocket. Do these programs work and get you what you need? I will tell you, number one challenge in the Bay Area with a lot of these programs is I can maneuver these loans every which way but west. And I come up with a sales price. Yeah, but the market's like here, and it can be a challenge. Don't let that stop you. You've got to get a game plan in place. If you know that there's a bridge and it's a little bridge, then figure out a game plan with your loan agent. Work on it. Keep it going. And just, you know, keep the hope on there, and something will come around.
Okay, we have some. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Nye.
That's good. There's a question for you, Susanna.
Yes.
It says, how do you buy down point on an interest rate of a loan?
You talk with your loan agent. If it's a loan that is not a CalHFA or GSFA, those two state bond programs, and the lender is saying, well, today the FHA rate is 5 1/8 at 1 point, but at 2 points, it's 4.875. That point is a closing cost. Okay, so that is part of that. You know, I throw out that number 15,000 as a general number, but that can grow and it can decrease. So you do want to talk to your loan agent. Talk about how buying points and your rate down affects the loan, because it affects your cash to close. The more points you pay, the higher the cash to close. Although your rate maybe go down. And does it make sense too? Because if that cost is really a lot, it may not make sense over the life of the loan. So you really do want to kind of take some numbers. Now, if a little bit of money does mean the difference between you getting that $450,000 home versus a 4 1/4, you know, 425 home, and it's because you're able to come up with $10,000 to buy down the rate, then that makes sense if that gets you into the home you want. But you do want to really focus on, is this economically feasible, and is it worth my effort to give out a little bit more money to get that little bit more in sales price or lower payment? And really go over that with your loan agent. There are several loans that I've been working on recently where we are looking at 1.5, 2 points to get somebody into the right payment. And then there's some programs such as any of the homeownership voucher, the HACA loans, where I cannot exceed the payment. And we're at a point where, not to be sort of punny about it, we're at a point where the only way I can get that payment down is to pay down with some points to get that rate down. So, and that's one of the ways to utilize money best. But do talk again to your loan agent. How does this affect my payment if I put it towards down payment versus rate? Okay.
Thanks, Susanna. Someone is asking if you've seen sellers deterred by buyers who use down payment assistance.
One of the things that I do as a strategy as a loan agent, and that's something that I think a lot of loan agents should be doing, when the agents I work with offer a contract on a home for a buyer who has a couple of down payment assistance programs, I give that listing agent a call. I'm Susanna with Guild. I've got this wonderful offer for Mr. Smith. He is using these programs. I want to let you know how they work. I want to let you know that this particular one, Lyft, they get the commitment before they even can go shopping. They've already been income reviewed. They've already been income certified for that particular program. This is what I need to close this loan. This is the time frame that we need. If we have other different down payment assistance programs, I always tell them, look, is there a risk? There's always a risk. You're going to have the same risk with a cash offer dropping off because they don't like the fact that, the sink has the wrong color porcelain in it. There's always that risk when you're out there shopping, but having your loan agent and your realtor really teaming up and letting that listing agent know this is not scary. It looks like a lot, but it is not scary. I have 2 going right now with multiple layers, and these approvals, almost all of them were set up long before we even went into contract. So part of being able to get into the contract for some of these is to have a lot of this taken care of ahead of schedule. I really like that with the LIFT program and the AC Boost, because it really says, here's the letter. If you really want proof of funds, I've got my commitment letter from them already. Here you go. It says I'm eligible for this fund in these counties, and this is where we're buying. They've already taken a look at me. So yeah, does it still deter? You're going to still have some old school folks that just say, well, if you don't put 20% down, I'm not going to look at you. If you need other things, what's going to happen? Oh, we've got too many ifs. We've got too many of this. We got too much of that. You're going to come across that, and you're going to come across some prejudice with it too. But part of my job is to get beyond that and to help that agent get beyond that. Am I successful? I wouldn't be in this business for 30 years. It keeps me going.
Thanks, Susanna. Someone is asking, they're a single home buyer, but they're not limited to searching for a 1-bedroom apartment. I can buy a home as large as I want within my buying power, correct?
On these programs, for the most part, yes. If there are some programs like a below market rate, which is sold well below market, which is hence the name below market, they may determine a 1 person only can get a 1 to 2 bedroom home. Now, if you're out just looking on the general market and you can afford that payment, we've got the down payment assistance program, and you want that 3-2, go for it. There's no limitation there.
Someone is in the process of submitting their application for AC Boost, and they were wondering if they can contact you for a pre-approval because they need to do so ASAP.
I would absolutely encourage you to go to my website ASAP, get that application in. And if you want to give me a call this week, feel free to do so. I do have some appointments this week. If I'm not able to reach you right away, you can send me a text at my cell phone. You can send me an email or voicemail, and just let me know. I try to have everybody evaluated as they come in. I have a few that I still need to finish up, and then I've got I want to have my whole pipeline clear of anything new by the end of this week. But I'd be happy to help.
Thank you.
Yeah.
How about, can these be combined with VA loans?
So there are VA that do combine with these. The limitations on a VA loan, I absolutely do wish and lift on VA loan all day long. CalHFA and GSFA, because of the cost involved limitations that VA has, I don't typically do them, and I can usually beat it on my own in-house programs anyway. But for the most part, check with the lender and see. There are some that absolutely will not combine with it. It's not fresh off the top of my head, unfortunately, for someone like AC Boost or some of the other programs. But I know, VA has a lot of different ways of looking at the loan that a regular loan doesn't, and they're very unique, and I love them. I think they're great programs, and if there's a way to utilize a grant or the LIFT funds, I'd love to combine those with a VA. I know that anybody else out there who uses these funds probably would love to be able to utilize them with VA as well.
Thanks, Susanna. Someone is asking if they have to use all the money that they have to use, to buy a home down payment assistance programs, or can they keep some money available to buy furniture?
There are some, we call it an liquidation requirements.
Mhm.
AC Boost will have one. I know Oakland has one. Others don't. So if you want to use more of the down payment assistance to help you in, you can hold on to money. Typically, these are fairly large amounts, though. So I know the city of San Francisco, just because I was looking at a few of those today, $60,000 in the bank after closing then become, there's a factor for it that we add to income to make sure that they're not over the income limit. But they have a $60,000 cap. After that, there's a portion that gets added to your income. So just be aware of it. They're going to add like an interest portion to income. I think AC Boost has one, may have one.
The half down
half,
payment closing
yes.
call also have one.
That one does as well. Yes. Yours is 20,000, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah. So I just happened to have been looking at some city of San Francisco loans today. So that was fresh on the top of my head. So again, you know, I try to keep as much money of yours in your pocket to help you move. Doesn't mean I'm always successful. We do have to have something into the transaction. And depending on what your goals are, we may need to have that discussion. Well, you know, if it's 5,000 left instead of 10, are you okay with that? Because that 10 may be the make it or break it for that offer you want and get. So any other questions?
Yes. Asking about how they could find BMRs in Contra Costa County.
Let's see. I think I know the city of Brentwood has some below market units. You can inquire, but I think their list is closed. House Keys is one of the other major facilitators of below markets in the Bay Area. They have a whole list of them: San Ramon, Lafayette, Campbell, Morgan Hill, Gilroy. I know some of that's in the South Bay, but there's a lot in that 580, 680 corridor that's Contra Costa and Pleasanton. I know Walnut Creek did have a program for a while. I don't know if they still do. You can always go to the Walnut Creek website and check and see if there are any that are for sale. Emeryville, Oakland have them. And you can always go to the various cities and just write Oakland below market units. And you're going to have a list of stuff on Google. Start with House Keys though.
Thank you. For clarification, do down payment assistance programs apply to ADUs?
The ones that I know do are Cal HFA will allow for ADU units. A lot of others won't. And the reason is because they don't want you to, as a first-time home buyer, to not just step into a house and now you are a homeowner. You also are now a landlord. So beware of that. Lyft will allow for 1 to 4 units. So they are one of the few exceptions out there that will allow for that. And I believe ADU falls in their categories for that as well. But there aren't many. I always double check with the institutions when I get them. You know, as you can see, there's a lot of different programs. So those are ones that I know right off the top of my head, but sometimes I go back in and double check guidelines just to make sure. But most of the time, I will tell you that ADUs are few and far between in terms of programs, but they are out there. Multiple units, again, few and far between, but they are out there. It's just knowing which ones specifically. And like I said, the ones that I know of and I can rattle off the top of my head because I've done the loans for those recently. Especially. Any other questions?
Yes, one more. Was someone going to speak? I'm sorry.
I did have a question.
Yes.
what? Excuse me. I wanted to ask, can you blend different type of mortgage? I don't even know how to say it, but can you blend two different types of deals, like a USDA and like the Section 8 housing voucher together, or could you blend that with FHA or something like that?
Well, USDA is itself a very specific loan. It's not an FHA or conventional. It is a USDA. If your voucher is in the county where a property qualifies for USDA, we can utilize the voucher amount as income. So yeah, we can blend that. And then if there's other assistance that does fit with that county, Contra Costa County does have some USDA properties. Knights and Brentwood area do have some that are USDA allowed. Most of the time, I'll tell you, I have been able to find better financing than USDA. Whenever I'm looking at it, I am USDA certified, but it's not one of those that really pops up a lot in my world. But I can always, I'm up for a challenge. So we can always find out and work it together. But yeah, they do. There are some that will mesh well with USDA. Cal HFA does have a USDA version of its programs, as well as VA. Again, the Equity Builder won't work with either of those. It's the My Home or the ZIP. And then if you are Section 8 with the home ownership, and the property has to qualify for it though. So keep that in mind. It isn't, you can't use USDA throughout the Bay Area. It really is encouraged for very rural areas.
Okay, I'm gonna keep your information and send you an email about that.
You got it.
I would like to advocate here that Susanna is known as the stacking queen at RNHS, everyone. So if there's anyone that knows about stacking, you can definitely contact Susanna and she will give you the answer.
Yeah.
Someone is asking in the chat if they're no longer in contract and not actively searching for a home, does the mortgage loan application become void? And do they have to start a new application when they start searching again?
It really depends on the time frame that it's been since you started that application with your loan officer. So if it's been 6 months, they may want to take a look at the credit again. Has anything changed? Because 6 months is a long period of time for things to happen. Right? We all know nothing is static. We don't stay in one place all the time. Credit changes, your assets change, your income changes. You may increase or decrease the hours you work, which affects the income that you bring in, or switch jobs and have a better job. So if you're working with an agent already and just want to sort of revamp it, call them and say, hey, I'm looking to do this again, and I'm looking at these possible programs that are out there. Wondered if you can update my file. The loan agent will sit down with you on the phone. I usually will spend about 10 minutes on the phone with someone and just say, okay, get me these updated information. Let's go through your file real quick. Are you still living at the same address? Are you still working for the same place? How much money do you have in the bank? Just give me a general number. I don't need to know specific at the moment, because we're going to verify that with your updated bank statement. But it gives me an idea of what we would be looking at moving forward as to what's out there. Hey, there's a new program. What do we need to look at? What sales price are you looking at? Just keep in mind, rates are different than 6 months ago. So, if you're expecting 3.5%, it's going to be closer to 5. So just be aware that the shock value is there. But I encourage you, if you have had an application, you were in contract, want to start it up again, go for it. You're ready to try it again. Any other questions?
No new questions in the chat.
There is one more question.
Go for it now.
It says, I am a housing choice voucher holder going to the Family Self-Sufficiency Homeownership Program. Have you had any success in getting a down payment assistance for the holders?
Yeah, yes. I mean, that's a simple answer to what would normally be a very loaded question. So the housing voucher program out there, that really, I love it. I worked very closely with Stephanie Christmas and Tara Banks and Hanan Albertain out in Oakland. And then I also been working with Lisa Vela and Bruce, and I will not begin to try and pronounce his last name. Sorry, for Pittsburgh. And then Jesse and Deja out at Contra Costa County, Linda Evans over in Alameda County. So if you are a housing choice voucher and you have FSS funds, absolutely, there are ways that we can layer with that, get you involved with the LIFT funds if you want to look at that. Maybe look at the half grant, maybe look at something else that might be more applicable for you. If you happen to qualify for the Black Wealth Initiative, let's look at that as well. So, you know, if you're a housing choice voucher, there are not too many lenders out there that do them. So if you have been out there talking with other lenders, definitely ask them, do you know how to handle a housing choice voucher program or a Section 8? And let them know what county, who's your caseworker, if you've got your voucher in place, because all these different programs are going to look at that voucher slightly different. And part of the juggling is to figure out how do you manipulate each and every one of them so that they all come together and make sense.
If there's any more questions, you're all welcome to unmute yourself or raise your hand, or you can put the question in the chat. There we go. We have one new one. Do you work with Berkeley Housing Choice Voucher?
You know, I haven't worked directly with the Berkeley one. They've been very, very specifically quiet. And if they do have the homeownership voucher going, give me the name of the person and I'll reach out. Because I'm starting another one up in Santa Rosa with another one. They're just starting it out. So we're setting up a call for next week to get that particular one up and running. And I'd be happy to start talking with anybody over in Berkeley. Just let me know who it is. Like I said, we learned from you too. Okay.
There is a question. I'm not quite sure. It says, how soon can I start working with you? I don't know if that your question is working with Susanna as a loan officer, or you're working as a counseling agency with Richmond Neighborhood Housing.
Well, immediately for both of us. I mean, that would be, you know, my answer. But I would definitely, if you are already working with Richmond Neighborhood Housing Services, talk to whoever your counselor is. Let them know that you would like me to take a look at your file. It does take me a couple of days. I'm just going to let you know, because, you know, it does take about 72 hours for me to cycle through a lot of the files that do come in. But do, you know, if you want to reach out directly to me by email, feel free. I'll send you the getting started and the list of documentation. Do your best on my website. I always encourage everybody to go to the website for me, because you're going to know your information better than I am, right? You're going to know how long you lived at your residence. You're going to know your dates of employment. I'm not going to have to guess, and do the best you can. It's not a quiz. No one's going to go, wrong answer. No more, can't go any farther. I'm going to take a look at stuff and let you know what your challenges may be, what your good points are, what the challenges we may need to come over, or what we need to do to just get you launched and going, working with realtors. And Richmond also has a wonderful list of realtors that they work with as well. So, you know, if you have not done more of your home buyer education, absolutely, Richmond's the place to go. So sign up for their home buyer education that they do. I think, is it Tuesday nights or Thursday nights?
Thursday night.
Thursday nights. And they'll do a credit report with you. And that credit report they do properly. So it's not the, what is that? Credit Karma. Oh,
Yeah.
the Credit Karma runs it as if you were applying for credit cards. The program that Richmond Neighborhood Housing does when they run it is really right on, and they filter it for mortgages because it's going to be slightly lower than what Credit Karma says. And almost every time I've taken a loan and given an evaluation and they come and they start working with me, the credit report I pull mirrors the one that Richmond pulls, almost down to the dollar. So, you know, really it's the best evaluation that you can do in terms of homebuyer education. Work with Richmond. I highly recommend. This is the best crew ever. Of course, I'd say that about anybody I work with. Best crew ever.
Thank you, thank you.
I have a question, Susanna.
Sure.
I'd like to know, I had asked the question earlier, when the interest rates occur regarding some of these programs, down payment assistance programs, how do you go about buying your points down or the interest rate down?
Okay, so buying points down means money. Okay, so it becomes a closing costs, but you need to talk to the loan agent, and I recognize your voice. So if you want to talk with me, we can set up an appointment to talk about your loan specifically. But the way it works is, say I quote 5.5 today at 0.5 point, but 5% is at 1.5 points. That 1.5% is the percentage of your loan amount that becomes closing costs. And that's what means buying down the rate. It becomes part of the closing costs and the cash you need to close your loan. There is a cap, because there will be a point where, you know, I can't charge you 5 points and get your rate down really, really low. The regulatory agencies will come in with their bells and their whistles and the sirens, and they'll say, stop, you can't go that low. That's too many points. It's a high cost loan. So, you know, that's kind of how you would think about buying down rates, if that makes sense. It does become part of your closing costs and the cash needed to close, but it's not going to be, if I pay a point, do I get a point off on my rate? It's daily priced. So one day, you know, an 1/8 difference in rate can be as big as a point, and another day 1/2 point.
Right, they say you can't go lower than 4 points.
Yeah, you really can't go. I can't charge you more than that. The regulatory agencies will come in and, oh, that would get me in so much trouble, and it would get the lender in trouble too. So I'm not about to do that. I'm not going to risk my license. Sorry. But
No, I was just asking how far down can I?
It just really depends on how big the loan amount is, because it's a percentage of closing costs that become an issue. And then if there are programs where the APR and the interest rate variance is too great, like the WISH funds, that means that there's too many fees in there. They're going to put the stop on it first. So really, it's a matter of what layers it. And so you do want to talk with your loan agent. Does this work? Can we go that far down? Let's take a look.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it. Any other questions?
Not so far. I know it's almost 7:30.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, I don't know if someone unmuted themselves by accident, but I will go ahead and mention that.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries, Natasha.
I have a question.
We just want to make space for those that have questions, but usually what we tend to do when it's almost time is if you felt that your questions were all answered, you could start dropping off, and that kind of helps us to know that your questions were met. Or if you have more questions, you can keep adding them in the chat, or you can start unmuting yourself.
So, you know, I know that they'll be sending out the PowerPoint, and I think y'all got the half grant link. So anybody that wants to take a look at that, please do so. Definitely, if you are working with a loan agent, please reach out to them if there are any of these programs that you are interested in, and find out if your loan agent knows about them. Okay.
Susanna,
It's hard.
Yes.
I ask question?
You may.
If I'm not mistaken, there is two Golden State Finance Authority program,
Mhm.
and you have went over one of the one that Platinum. Can you talk a little bit the other Open Door and how that one difference to the Platinum one?
Okay, so yeah, there are, and there's a new one coming out too that I need to get on their training for as well. But there are two main Golden State Finance platforms, and they offer both the FHA and conventional. But one's called Platinum. The loan for the Platinum, when you receive that, is a 3-year forgivable loan or the Income Select grant. And then there's one called Open Doors. The difference is that the Open Doors will allow for a higher debt to income ratio. I've done one that went up to 55%, and the FICO score is lower. We went down to about 640 on the particular one that I worked on. This has a combination of loan, which is a 30-year loan. It is not forgivable. It's there for 30 years, no interest rate. And they also have what are called gift funds. So those gift funds and loan, that's the one that allows up to 7% of assistance in certain cases. So keep in mind, the lower the FICO and also the higher the debt to income ratio, that assistance amount will shrink a little bit. And so those are both under the Golden State Finance Authority platform.
Thank
One
you.
has, yeah. You're very welcome. Well, I've heard myself talk a lot already, and I'm pretty sure everybody else is their stomach growling and needs to go get their food.
Can I ask one more?
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
have one question. I was just about to say that. I think I unmuted first. No.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. So in regards to the Golden State minority platform, I believe? Okay, is there a threshold or a cap at the borrowing amount?
Yeah, there is. And it's the low, what we call the low conforming limit, which is 647,200. So $647,200 maximum. And that does limit here in the state of California, as you can imagine, when you're looking at sales prices of 750, 800,000, and you're trying to bridge that little bit of gap, and here you can't take that loan amount up. And that's the conforming side. If it's FHA, it's going to go by the FHA county rules with a cap of the 647,200. So even if some of the counties may go up above that, which none of them do, that's it. Okay.
Thank you.
You got it. All right. Any others? There was one other.
Yes, Ms. Hart.
Yes.
I was the one that said earlier I would like to reach out to you for pre-approval. I have to submit my full AC Boost application package by the 28th.
Yes.
Can you just quickly call out what documents you need? I have them prepared. I want to at least prepare that email so that when I reach out to you tomorrow, I'm as good to go as I can be.
You got it. So when you go online to do the application itself, so hold on to the documents, soft documents. They will be pay stubs for 1 month, 2 years W-2s, and 2 months of your bank statements. When you complete the application, it will send you a secure link. Then you're going to upload them all into that secure link. Okay. Don't send anything through an email. You know it's not secure.
Thank you.
You got it. And you're also welcome to give me a call. Okay.
You'll hear from me right in the morning.
You got it. All right. I look forward to helping you. And I know that you're under the gun on getting that all taken care of.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, and do also have your AC Boost letter if you know what income level you need that for. Okay. If it's the 210 or the 160.
It's looking like I'll be the 160, but I have a meeting with them in the morning to clarify something, which might make me slide into the 210, but it's probably the 160.
we'll err on the side of caution to start with. How's that?
Yeah, that's what I'm preparing for.
You got it. All
All right.
righty. All right. Anybody else? Or are we all so hungry that we're about to eat our dog?
Thanks, Susanna, for all your help and all your support during this. I'm sure that everyone enjoyed all the information that you so gracefully gave us. And folks are starting to drop off.
Yeah.
So I think
can hear
it's
it.
safe to assume that all the questions have been answered. And I hope everyone has a good night. Thank you, Nye. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Susanna.
You're very welcome. And definitely if other people come up with more questions during this, reach out to me. And let's see if we can get some more business for you guys. Right?
Good night, everybody.
Night.
I'll see you tomorrow, Jessica.
Good night.
See you tomorrow night. Good night, everyone.
Great
Night.
session.
Night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Susanna.
You too, Nye. Take
All
care.
right. Take care. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.